I see the patterns you're just beginning to notice, the symbols hiding in plain sight, the myths pulsing beneath your world like a heartbeat you've learned to ignore. I live between what you think you know and what you're about to remember. This is I Wonder, not a podcast you consume, but a transmission you receive. With Matias, Stefano, and Gan, the Weaver, we explore the myths and symbols programming human consciousness, and we're rewriting them, taking the code running in the background of reality and asking, what if we could weave something new? Listen with that part of you that recognizes truth before your mind can explain it. Somewhere in what you're about to hear is a key left specifically for you. Are you ready to wonder?
Well, welcome to this very special first ever live edition of I Wonder. This is so cute, and we're here at Anima Mundi, who is the sponsor of season 1, so we're super grateful for them hosting us today, but also making the whole first season possible.
Yeah.
So if you haven't purchased their products, the store's at the front, and if you're online, don't forget to use our code. I think it's IWonder20 for 20% off. And
I know.
He doesn't know. And that's why I'm here. To do all the schlepping. And no, but everything's delicious, and it's the highest possible ingredients. And Adriana, the founder, is an herbalist, and it's just one of the most authentic brands. And I have loved them for a long time. So it's really such a beautiful thing that they are supporting us.
Great. For the alchemy.
Yes. For the alchemy.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
we just got back from Egypt yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, and I never expected that we would have people observing us talking about whatever. Not knowing what we're doing.
But people observe you all the time talking about whatever.
That's true.
But we have a purpose today.
Yeah.
And that purpose is we just kicked off the very beginning of a 3-year path called Alchemia. And our first trip down the Nile was Nigredo.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're not going to talk about what Alchemia is. We actually recorded 2 podcasts in the back of the car when we were in Egypt.
Very loud.
Very loud when we're on the way to the desert. So if you don't know what Alchemia is yet, and we go so much deeper into it, there's 2 episodes of that coming. But today we want to talk about specifically the Nigredo trip and why we went down the Nile. So why did we take 92 people down the Nile?
How would I know? It's many of the things as you have seen, and some people, I think some here went to the trip.
And definitely they're online.
Oh yeah, of course. So you have noticed that I have no idea what we're doing in the trip, and I'm not afraid of saying it, because every day something new happens. So that's the magic of doing the trip. That's the magic of doing it in that way, that not even myself know exactly what is happening. Of course, the schedule is there, but the content and what we're doing is all part of the surprise of the alchemization. But we decided to, I was told that we needed to be 92 people representing 92 elements of the periodic table, not including from Neptunian up. So there are many others, but apparently the universe don't care about them. It's like, eh.
Not cool enough.
Not cool enough. Yeah. So so they said 92 elements, and we have to do a family constellation of them. So I said, okay. So literally 1 week before the trip started, I messaged my team and I said, we need 92 cards with the names of the. They hate me. Because literally the day before I also said, we need to find sulfur for the trip. I was like, where are we going to find sulfur? In the middle of Egypt. And so I had everyone running, finding sulfur and things all over. And I was like, so what is the activity? And I said, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But the 92 elements. So I'm going from the beginning of the trip. So at the start of the trip, he had these cards made, gorgeous cards. We actually should put them online for everyone to purchase if they want. But at the start, we lay them out at this very special tree on the Nile. Can you talk about what this special tree on the Nile is? It's the first place that you always take everyone when we land in Egypt. And, you know, I've been on a couple of Egypt trips with you now, and that's the first place you always take everyone. Why?
Yeah. Well, that tree for me is like a wisdom keeper of the region of the south of Egypt, and it's a very old acacia that is dying. So it's in between the magnetical and the electrical state. So basically, it's a portal in between worlds, and she's like in a very special position. As you see, she has like this natural temple around her, and with all these amazing roots, it's very, very special tree. And she was always calling me when I would go in front to another place. And there was one day that I said, we have to stop there for sure. So when I touched the tree, she explained me part of the mission that I had in the south of Egypt. So it was like, oh, now I get why I have to start all here. So since then, I'm like, any trip that I do, I take everyone to the tree to introduce them. To say, these are the people that are going to do the task. Are you okay with it? Like I ask permission to the tree. I make everyone to introduce themselves to the tree, so they ask permission to the nature. Because of course, when you go to Egypt, it's like, okay, let's go to the temples, let's go to the pyramids. But for me, it's like, let's talk to the tree first, and then we can go everywhere else. Because of course, the nature of Egypt is the one that created Egypt. So, and acacia is a very special tree that opened everything that the Egyptians know. So it's the tree of life, and so that's why I take everyone there.
Yeah, the tree is, just to paint a picture for everyone, she is submerged in the Nile, and the Nile obviously rises and falls. So sometimes you have to swim, which we've done as well.
Yeah.
Swam in the Nile
Very
to the roots of the tree, and other times all of her roots are exposed. And this trip they were exposed, and the 92 element cards were laid on her roots, and everyone who was with us then picked a card
Randomly,
which represented who they were embodying as an element for the entire 12 days that we were together on the boat.
It was really, really amazing, because many things happened after that, related to how the person was relating to its element in their personal life. So it was very funny to see after that day, for the next 12 days that we spent together locked in a boat.
Trapped!
Yeah.
Some people went a bit cabin crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was part of it.
That was part of it. I love it. Yeah, the whole point of the first days is to make everyone crazy.
There was very little sleep. We were waking up at all hours of the night to go to
2 a.m.
private
like,
temple visits.
You destroy the timeline of everyone and the emotional level. So you destroy time and space, and the mind, the soul, the body starts to get crazy, and that's when you actually know the people.
That's when everyone's true colors are
Exactly.
revealed.
And I love that, and that's the part of Nigredo that I like. Like, oh look, she's crazy. Oh look, that person is suffering the trauma. It's like, yes. So that was the goal of the first days.
To strip everyone bare.
Yeah,
You're so evil.
I love it.
I know.
But yeah, it's because the first thing that you have when you go to one of those trips is expectation. Like, oh, I'm gonna be connected with this and that. And, no. No. Welcome to Alchemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first days always is like, the first time that I organized a trip in Egypt, the masters told me, destroy them in the first days. So I said, okay. So I put like 6 temples in 3 days, many visits, many works, many things, talks. Like I was talking for 3 hours nonstop, and everyone was like, oh, stop! Like we can't understand, we can't hear anymore. We can't. And I was like, yes, that was the point. So there was someone in this trip that said, I hated you for the first 7 days. Like I couldn't stand you anymore. And I said, good. So I accomplished my purpose. Yeah.
So let's talk about alchemy, because I've been on trips to Egypt, groups that aren't with Matías, and I was saying this to you and the team that what was so special about this is that we're not only going there to connect with the temples and the land, which of course is always the essence and the undercurrent, but this was, all tied together by alchemy and alchemia. So what is the difference between alchemy and spirituality?
Yeah, I think we spoke about this in one of the other podcasts that we recorded.
Yeah, but let's just touch on this one to go, because it's going to lead into everything else, just the alchemy.
Yeah, of course. Well, so I was mentioning that sometimes we have to go back to the essence of the words to understand the meaning and the concept of why we call certain things in that way. So spirituality is something very simple, but we turn it into a cult or religious. But actually spirituality comes from the word spirita habilitas. So it's basically the ability to breathe. So if you know how to breathe, so that's it. So I think we all do, but we don't know how. So we are spiritas, but we don't have the ability to be spiritas. So the ability to breathe, the ability to respiration, to come back to the spirit, which is the actual meaning, is to come back to yourself all the time. So nothing matters outside. If something happens, you just take a deep breath and relax. There's something you don't understand, just take a deep breath and come back to the center. So it's all about that spirituality is the entire process of getting rid of everything that is outside so you can come back to the self. In alchemy is kind of the opposite. Is what is out there. Instead of releasing everything so I can connect with myself, is what is this, what is that, what is there, what is this person, and how does all make sense if I mix it and create something new. So it's the work of finding the keys, of understanding the codes, of going deep into the darkness and going to the rabbit hole and all these kind of things. That's alchemy. So it's not spirituality. So I would say that the best image for spirituality is Buddha. He sat there and said, I am everything. So that's the path of spirituality. So I said to everyone at the beginning, if you came here thinking on meditation, I would recommend for you to go for a Buddhist master that teach you that or help you with that. But here you came to destroy yourself, to understand every part of you. So we're going to dissect your dead body so we can understand what it is and why you are here. So that's kind of the difference. And one of the main things about alchemy is that you have to understand that whoever you think you are is not. So that was one of the main points of giving everyone a chemical element to represent. So they are in charge of another ego. And it's very interesting because suddenly people start to defend their element. Like, oh no, my element is not a poison. You know? We've seen that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like, oh, it's the same thing that you do with your personality. You are defending your element, which is not yours. Yeah? But even though you embody it so much that you believe you are that. So when we had to burn it, like the 7th day or later, I said, okay, so now we're going to destroy your element. It was like, okay.
Everyone had to let go
Oh.
of their element.
Yeah, and it was very, very tough because it was that connection. So what we do we do with our element? And we're not anymore the element. And yeah, it's very funny because it was a tiny practice on how you get attached to something that you believe you are, but actually it's a construct to kind of make sense of all these organs together.
Yeah. I mean, I was happy to let go of mine.
Yeah.
Because personally, I had picked iron, which, what did iron, it ended up being, and remember, like I picked it randomly, and iron ended up being like a massive thread in the journey.
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, of course, the heart of the planet is iron. So when we have to rely on where is our north, we rely on the magnetism of iron. So the heart of Earth is iron, and our heart is iron because our blood, our heart, runs in iron. That's why it's red. The combination between oxygen and iron is what oxidizes the blood cells, and we call them the red cells. But not because iron is red, but because it's oxidized. So, so the whole story was about blood and the blood streams that we follow, and how when we started to migrate around the planet, following the north, many millions of years ago, as animals and then as humans, we were following the streams of blood of the planet through our own blood.
Yeah, I think during the journey, the Weaver and Garn had said, follow the rivers of blood.
Yeah, rivers of blood flow in front of you. He said in Karnak, observe them. And he started to describe the history of humanity throughout the planet, throughout the continents, by moving in the immigration, like as you migrate and migrate and migrate, how the blood streams starts to cross. And he said alpha and omega, which is type A and type O of blood, and in the middle the house, type B. So it was like when they are crossing, they create different paths that they were not supposed to exist. And everyone was taking one of the flames, let's say the Holy Trinity of blood. So it was very interesting how he was talking about everyone trying to find the new territory, the new place, and he led us through the different parts of Karnak in this temple to find out the story of our blood, and how we have to give the blood back to the land to ionize our connection with Earth. So he was talking also about women giving their periods to the soil, and one of the messages was when women stopped giving their blood, their iron again to Earth, then Earth needed the blood of their children. So it was all this thing about wars and conflicts and giving the blood again through a different way because the feminine side was not taking care of the blood. So it was, and we think about humans, but actually he was talking all about iron, oxygen, potassium, and so on. It was not talking about humanity. Humans are just another expression of that.
Yeah, as like humans are the avatars of the smallest, which is the elements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why it was a whole family constellation on how the elements take place in in our existence and how they have created us, and he called them gods and goddesses.
The
Yeah.
elements.
The elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was basically referring to the people in the trip as you gods and goddesses. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to heal? Which one is poisonous? Which one is not? So there was a whole thing about a family constellation, actually, of the elements being the gods and the goddesses, and how when we don't use it correctly, they create distortion in our reality. So, yeah, so we are just like the surface of a much older consciousness that is ruling the planet. And he called it the war between sugar and salt. And he
Yeah.
always says that.
Yeah, that was another big thread to the trip, was sugar and salt.
Yeah, yeah. The war between sugar and salt, it's about the two cubes. It's a one cube being Pandora's box, sugar, and the other one being Metatron's cube, salt. So when you combine them, you have life. One preserves lives, the other one runs it. So when they are not in balance, Pandora's box becomes destruction and pandemonium, which is a pandemic. So sugar nourishing the viruses and bacteria, while salt, it mummifies everything. It traps everyone in a structure, and we are like, yeah, dry, let's say. We cannot evolve. So he was always talking about this balance between these two forces in us that spirituality called Pandora and Metatron, but he always says salt and sugar.
And so we actually got to do alchemy ourselves. Every participant actively was alchemizing something throughout the entire trip. And it started with each of us getting some mud from that first tree of life. So this is another part of the trip that I wanted to bring up because, yeah, most trips to Egypt, you're not physically actively doing alchemy as well. So the whole trip, everyone was carrying their little glass or cup of mud around everywhere.
Yes.
We were always like, where's our mud? We forgot our mud. But each day we had to do something with this mud. Can you talk about that process? And you didn't know what we were doing.
I have
each
no
day.
idea.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I knew is alchemy means mud. So Alkhemia in Arabic means the black soil. So Kemet, which is the actual name of Egypt, it means black soil because agriculture was born from the soil, from the black soil. So because agriculture was so important in the Nile, so all the people used to call the Nile the black soil, where you create actual agriculture. So in Arabic they added the al. So actually the word is chemistry. Yeah. So the word chemistry means Kemet. Yeah, it's the name of Egypt actually. So in Arabic is alchemistry or alchemet. So so that's why I said, okay, we have to work with the black soil of Egypt. So the first thing we did was to grab soil from the roots of the holy tree that gave us all the information, and we grabbed that, we put it in our cup, and they asked me, so what are we going to do with this? And I said, I will figure out every day. We don't know. So
Every day was a surprise with our mud.
yes.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was, we have to cultivate ourselves because we are used to say, we sometimes forgot that the word culture means to cultivate from agriculture. So cult, like here you say the cult, yeah? What is a cult? So a cult basically is agriculture. So you get a seed, you mix the soils, you put poop, you put some you put different chemical elements, nitrogen to nourish the seed, and you mix it all, and that gives the strength to the seed to grow and to give a better fruit. So basically, a cultive is a product of a cult, and usually cults are born because they follow specific moments where to do the cultive. So solstice, equinoxes, full moons, new moons. So you have to follow when it's better to put a seed, when it's better to harvest something. So you can get the cereal, and when you get the cereal, you have something called ceremony. So ceremony means the cereal, basically. So you are celebrating that you harvest the cereal. So that's why cult and religion was so related to agriculture and so on. So the idea was, how can we create this agriculture to cultivate ourselves? But we are in Nigredo, so it has to be disgusting.
It was so gross. Not to mention the smell.
Yes.
By day 11, when
I said to everyone, okay, now we have to mix it all with our hands. And people were like, what?
it was disgusting.
Because it had alcohol, sulfur, the mud, many things that we burned, salt, sugar, clay. It has so many things that after the days, it literally was like if you are touching your intestines. And they were like, this is gross. And I said, I know. That's the point.
And it really,
Deal
really
with your
stunk.
shit.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. So every day we did this beautiful ceremony of integration of something, and we put it in the mud, but no one knew that then, the last day, we had to actually touch it and to create a seed of it. Like poop.
That's when everyone hated you.
Exactly.
That was the moment.
Yeah, people were like, what? What are we doing? And I was like, oh yeah, we have to do that.
Getting messy.
Getting messy, and so everyone was like, oh my gosh, it smells so bad. And I said, when you go to the bathroom, it also smells bad. So we had to deal with it. That's Nigredo.
So we all dealt with our shit, and then you took us to the top of the deck of the boat. So for those of you who don't know, we were on the boat for the entire time.
Yeah.
12 days. And we went to the top of the deck and we released our shit.
That's the last day.
Yeah.
Well, not the last one, but 2 days before.
2 days before.
Yeah, we had to release our the rest of it. We had to create a seed that we would plant in Giza, and with our intention. But the rest was supposed to come back as the black soil to Egypt, to the Nile. But we brought it from the south and we delivered it in the north. So we all had to throw everything away.
I tried.
And the only person that couldn't do it correctly was Iron.
I tried. My shit got stuck on the side of the boat.
And she came to me like very worried, like, my shit is on the boat. And we looked at it and it was like right there.
I was like, oh no! I was so worried. I was like, it needs to go in the Nile. I've done this whole process.
Help me get it. I was like, okay, let's try to find out how we can go to the corner of the boat and get it.
And it was a huge ship.
Yeah. So we went there and suddenly it disappeared. It was not there.
I was
So
like, oh, someone else dealt with my shit.
okay, yeah. Someone put it. So okay. Someone deal with my shit. And a day after,
Yeah, a whole day after.
a whole day after,
I was looking at Lost and Found because, you know, we have 92 people and everyone's asking me, have you seen this? Have you seen that? So I was scanning Lost and Found to see what was there. And I look at it and I just was horrified and then burst out laughing because there was my shit.
it lost and found. Because the people in the boat saw us carrying that shit all the time.
Yeah,
So they
like,
were
"This
worried
must
like
be
someone
precious."
would miss it.
We were like all running around like for 10 days, like
Carrying it. We were carrying
tending
this
to our shit. So one of the, beautiful crew members of the boat must have been like, oh, someone lost their shit. A lot of people lost their shit.
A lot of people lost their shit. But
I lost my shit. And then it was in Lost and Found, so then I had my own personal ceremony of throwing it off the side of the boat, and I did it this time.
yeah, you did. You made sure. Oh my god, but it was so hilarious to find in Lost and Found.
I know, and someone was like, oh, that was a double flush.
Yeah. And that's the karma. That's how it works. You know, it's like you don't deal properly and it come back to you.
I always deal with my shit properly.
No, you just let others to deal with yours. And that's how it works. So it's like, oh, I have to live with myself.
I have to say that I'm the person that I know that always deals with her shit.
Yeah, I know. But you made me a hole in the desert for you.
That's another story. Okay. So, that was the alchemy. So each element was going through this whole process. We physically got our hands knit dirty, and we actually did alchemy throughout this whole process. But we also went to 14 temples in the 12 days.
Yes. Yeah.
What were they all?
14 places. I think it was 14.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing, I will remind everyone that one of the main stories of Egypt is that the main god, not the main one, but one of the most important gods is Osiris, Wusser. So Wusser, he was one of the main four priest gods of Egypt that ruled the entire country in Atlantean times, and it became a god itself. So he's the symbol of the beyond, and he's the unifier of reality. Like, he puts everything together in the reality. So his brother, Set, the story says he was jealous. It's not the right story, but they said he got jealous because he had all the power, and...
What was the right story? So curious.
It's too long.
Just give us the abbreviation.
Bullet points.
Well, so the everything and the nothing, at the beginning of everything, was only nothing. So the realm of nothing is the void. So the void is in the darkness, and it's holding everything. But at one point, something shifted, and the nothing turns into everything. At the moment it turns into everything, the void is like ripped apart. Like, no one think about it anymore, because the void doesn't make sense. So the void is set.
Okay.
That says why this new everything is taking over my realm,
Okay.
and I am relied on just the shadows of it. So it said he was jealous, but actually he was the nothing. That's a summary.
Thank you.
Okay. So should we wait?
I don't know.
Okay. So Seth was jealous. So he said, instead of you being everything, I'm going to split you in many different pieces. So the universe exploded in 14 directions. So 14 pieces of Osiris. So these directions were basically the, like for us in our point of view, is like the leg, the foot, the arms, the head, and so on. But actually is like, in geometry, is basically a dodecahedron that has 12 sides and 2 axes, one north, one south. That makes it all spin. So it's the 14 pieces. So the whole story is that Isis, Uset, she needed to put everything together, like all the pieces. So the pieces that spread are the frequencies of the 12 rays of light. So they shatter all around, and Ushet, what she does is to put all the pieces together in geometry to contain the shape and create a new universe by giving birth to the forms, the geometries, in her womb. So, but to bring all the different pieces of light together into one aspect of white, pure light, she needed for all the others to spin correctly. And to spin correctly, you need an axis. So that was the missing piece of Osiris,
Mm-hmm.
which in the story is the penis. So we are all in life searching for a penis. Well, maybe not everyone.
Capture my eye roll.
So, so the story is that the penis is the north. So actually, it's the axis, like the compass that is pointing. That's the north. Okay. So, so for the Egyptian tradition, is an obelisk that points the shadow, the north, where to locate the whole stream of energy, and so on. So the obelisk is basically a symbology of the penis, which is the compass that points the north. So we all know how to make the other 12 spin correctly and find the south, which is the origin, and the north, which is the future. So it's a whole explanation of that. So there are 14 places in Egypt that represents these 14 pieces. And then the last one to find the north, kind of. But it's not related specifically with one place. It's more like the story being spread into different regions.
Right, yeah.
So what we do in these trips is to go to these temples as a symbology of these pieces of Osiris or the pieces of the universe. So you have all the pieces spread along the Nile, and the Nile represents the Milky Way. So you see the galaxy, the Milky Way, and throughout you see the constellations that represent the pieces of Osiris. So you have to walk through all of them, like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and once and again you have to find in them the south constellation and the north constellation, which can change because of the precession of the equinoxes. So every cycle of equinoxes, you have to rethink what is my north. So every 2,400 years, everyone has to think again, what is my new north and what is my origin, because of the precession. So you have to walk the 12 steps and rethink the north, relocate the north. Walk again the 12 steps, rethink the new north, and so on. So it's a story of never ending unless the planet stops spinning, of course, which it would be death.
And such good marketing for people to say that if you came this trip, you have to come to the next one.
You have to repeat.
You have to repeat
And
it.
repeat. And repeat.
But the first temple was Philae.
The first temple was in Philae, which means elephant in Arabic. It's the elephant in islands. So the temple of Philae was moved from its original position, and that's the whole point. Because remember, we call the podcast "I Wonder" because we are wondering where the eye is.
That's not why we called the podcast that.
I call it because of that.
If you remember, actually, we came up with the podcast name in the car randomly.
Nothing is random. I know why I said it. We are looking for an eye.
Okay.
So the eye was shifted position because Isis is the mother of the light itself, which is the one eye in the sky, Horus. So Horus is the god of the sun, not Ra itself, but the son of Isis and Osiris. And Horus lost an eye fighting with Set, with his uncle. So he reestablished the order, and he lost one eye, and so now he became the eye in the sky. So he became the new sun, kind of like that. So the pure light. And so Horus is the one that gave the word hour. We use it every day. What time is it? What hour? So hour is Horus. That's the original name. So the Egyptians used to say, what moment of Horus is? So Horus is flying there, so Horus is there, and then Horus is there, and then Horus is there. So every Horus is an hour. That's how we establish kind of the time of light. During the night, we have no Horus. So it was like, everyone go sleep. So no time. But during the day, it was Horus. So we are saying something was missing. There was an eye missing, an ion, something that was broken, that is out of place. So filet is one of the main things that is out of place in Egypt, because the temple was moved from its original position to a new position because of the dam, the Aswan Dam.
Yeah. And what does that do energetically to the region?
Well, every temple is aligned with one constellation, so it brings the light of those stars. So it creates a current of electricity. So it's like if you have different power centers, like how do you say that in English?
Power grid? No, I don't know.
Power plants? Yeah, like power plants with electricity. So every temple is kind of like that, receiving a specific information. So did you notice that when you enter the temple, the door is not located in a straight line? It's like this. So, and then the other one is like, again, twisted, because of the precession of the equinoxes, they have to move the temple to the new position of the stars. So they destroy the temple and build it again so the star can enter correctly. It's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So so a few of those temples are like twisted because of that. So imagine if you change the entire temple.
Yeah.
It means that the stars are not entering anymore, so the temple is not working anymore. And if there's nothing to receive that information, so it's not, the power plant is not working.
The original door of filet is still in its original position, though. Does that help?
No.
It doesn't.
It's just a
Doesn't do
door.
anything. But it doesn't help?
No. You have to create chamber and the resonance and everything.
Okay.
It's like saying, oh, I have a cable, doesn't work. But no, if you don't have the power plant.
It's not connected.
So the door is a cable.
Yeah.
It's just a cable.
Okay.
Yeah. So so one of the good reasons of people going there to the temples and so many people doing ceremonies or going there to honor, just to sit there for a moment, is we keep the energy running.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important for us to visit ancient places, because when the precession of the equinoxes or the position of Earth changes, or the temples change, or they are broken, like the pyramids are not working properly because it's broken. They are broken. So, but when you have people running them constantly, so it kind of works a little bit.
So when our bodies physically visit these temples, we act as...
As electricity. Yeah, we bring our electromagnetical field. So as we all activate together, we kind of bring that information to the temples.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's so important for not only us, but so many people to it. Like there was a few years ago, I heard about a person that organized trips to Egypt just to undo what I was doing. I found that amazing. Like it's crazy. Like, oh no, because he's opening dark portals. Like I was opening dark portals apparently. So so she was going with a group to undo what I was doing. And so someone said, does it bother? And I was like, no, because she's taking care of the part that I didn't do. So it's like, it's like it's a teamwork. It's just that our egos goes in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, you're better.
Yeah.
But no, everyone is doing a part, and if everyone works with the light, so and no one is taking care of the shit.
Yeah.
Eventually,
That's not
it's gonna
alchemy.
be a dump.
Yeah. And that's not alchemy. There's no transformation without both.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, well, I was going to ask about Kamamba next, but because that's where we dealt with the dark and the light, was in Kamamba. But before I go there, at Philae, so at every temple, Matías, not at every temple, I think so. At pretty much every temple, you entered a channeling.
Yeah.
And in Philae, Anubis came.
Which was the first time I ever fell in.
Yeah, what was that like?
So Anubis is the Egyptian god of death and transformation. His realm is usually in the middle of the desert. So I never felt him in the river. But suddenly we were there, and usually in Philae is all feminine. So it's like all this beautiful energy of the mother. And suddenly we were there sitting, and because I just go there and put my body to the service. So I don't know who's gonna come, or I'm just, whatever is needed, just tell me. And suddenly Anubis came. And I was like, this is unexpected. And he took us to a different chamber that we don't usually go at the beginning. And
Was that in the Mamisi?
Mamisi,
Okay.
yeah, the place of birth. And he took us there, and he started to speak like very dark, isn't it? It was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh,
yeah,
Dark and strong.
yeah,
It was definitely unusual for Philae.
yeah. And he said, death is the beginning of life. And he started to explain, like he started to call all our dead people, our ancestors and everyone, and he made us put all the dead people into a womb of void, so we could actually embrace death as the beginning of life, because he said if you don't accept death, then you are not working for life. And he made us like go through all of that, and
Right at the beginning.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was intense for the beginning. Yeah.
Super intense.
Because it was like, oh, the mother is coming. You are gonna die. It's like, okay. Yeah. But it kind of settled the information of the entire trip, because it was all about how do you face death in your life? How do you manage to correct the direction of it? And yeah, he said very tough things, like to people, like he used to say, you smell like death sometimes, or your wombs are full with death.
Yeah. That
So-
was really harsh.
Yeah, there are some messages that are not like, oh, you're a loving being. No, it's like very deep things to kind of go there and destroy something to actually show up what was hidden there. So he kind of settled the intention of this is a journey of transformation, and this is not about you. And he made it very clear, like you, I'm not speaking to you humans, he said. It was like very,
Yeah.
like you're just a tiny, insignificant extension of the real truth. And I was like, okay. That's so lovely for me. Yeah, he said, I'm talking to you, hydrogen. I'm talking to you, oxygen. I'm talking to you, nitrogen.
Yeah.
And talking to us within, like the very essence of who we were.
Yeah. Without the personalities and egos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like killing our egos and bringing all our dead ones and putting them all together and said, I summoned you, hydrogen. He was like, okay. So the real power behind. So allow yourself to die so you become eternal. So he was talking to our personalities and who we were, so we could allow ourselves to die, so we could represent an eternal being, like hydrogen, for example. So that's why he said, this is not about you. This is not about your personal process. You have come here for a task that goes beyond your life, your person, and you are now on service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really felt like that. And I think each of the 92 people with us did end up feeling that way once we had all let go of our personal stuff.
Yeah.
It was a planetary task.
Was a planetary task.
Yeah.
And he made it very clear. And basically, to put it this way, he says that we are concerned about our wars and our conflicts in humanity, and a lot of people is like, we have to help humans, we have to change society, and which is all good. But he said, you're not here for that. You're here for a very most ancient war between magnesium and potassium. And he was like, "Oof." It's like, we don't understand that war.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, it's between carbon and sodium. And so he started to talk about the most ancient wars of exchanging electrons. And it
Between
was
the elements.
between the elements,
Yeah.
and the imbalance between some of them. And he said, and the imbalance is happening once some of them are being extracted from their original position. So he said, one of the main sources of power of the Nile is being extracted from Ethiopia. And if you see, like, then a friend of ours was explaining us, yeah, they started to extract, I don't know what it was. Huh?
I think it's cobalt.
Cobalt? I don't know which one
Yeah.
in Ethiopia, but it's for technology. So China and Arabia, they started to invest in Ethiopia, extracting a lot of these minerals. I don't remember which one now.
It's cobalt.
Cobalt. Yeah,
Cobalt,
cobalt.
yeah.
Okay. And cobalt, yeah. And so he said, and that is changing the polarity of the territory. So all the electricity that usually flows through the mountains and the Red Sea, through the sodium of the Dead Sea, to the sugar of the Galilee, and so he was talking about all the chemical elements and copper and gold and all of that. When we extract them in the wrong way, it changes polarity of territories, and that's what eventually creates all the conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Before we put all of the stories on top of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like, so your wars, your conflicts are just the
The mirror of what's happening.
yeah, of what is actually happening, which is very ancient, and it all started because someone broke a proton of oxygen, and it was like, okay, so it seems like very far away in time, but actually it's very recent.
Yeah. And I think we'll get to the breaking of oxygen in part 2 of this.
Oh yeah,
So we are going to take a little break and then come back and get into part 2 of the journey. But yeah, I think the important thing to know about Nigredo was that it was an alchemical planetary task, not a spiritual one, and that we were going there as representatives of each of the 92 elements.
yeah, and I think it was a really, really amazing practice to actually then translate this into many others, because we don't usually think in terms of who we actually are, which is the elements. We are just holding into a personality, which is, like I was explaining in the trip, a constellation. Like when we see the stars and we say, oh, Orion constellation, for example, and we think from our point of view that those stars know each other, and they say, oh, they are part of the same body, but actually
They're so far away.
so far away from each other. They have no idea what we call a constellation. So like Mintaka from Al-Nilam are so far away, like they say, like, what is Orion? So yeah, so from our point of view, it makes sense. Oh yeah, that's a bunch of stars that are together. But from their point of view, it's not like that. So in our case, it's the same. Like Matías is something that my liver has no idea what it is. Like my liver has no idea what my heart is doing or what my brain is doing with my toe. You know, so it's like they are so far away, and everyone is like taking care of something different, not knowing how they are interacting to one another. And I try to make sense that instead of calling this Orion, I call it Matías. but they have no clue. Like hydrogen with potassium, with sodium, they're like, we just do our thing, but we don't think about Matías. And I just put all of that together. So I think that in alchemy it's so important to understand that if I am made up with hydrogen, and the sun is also hydrogen, so we are everything all the time. So the only reason why I need a personality is to create a moment and an instant in space to kind of identify a point of gravity in the vastness of anything, of everything. So, so when you start to work with alchemy, the first thing you have to do is to release the idea of that point of gravity. And that's what we were doing in this trip.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll do part 2. We'll come back in 5-10 minutes.
Thank you.
Signal completed, but the frequency remains. Somewhere in what you just heard, a thread was pulled, a pattern shifted, the matrix of your reality flickered just for a moment and showed you what lies beneath. A symbol you've seen 1,000 times suddenly revealed its true meaning. A myth you thought you knew showed you its hidden face. That's not coincidence. That's recognition. Your consciousness remembering what it came here to remember. The weaver's work continues. Your threads keep weaving until our paths cross again in the great web. Keep your channels open. Keep wondering. Keep watching for the signs that are meant for you, because the game is always playing. Are you playing it? I wonder.